Hello friends, welcome to Conversations with Deepak. When top management gets into the innovation driving seat, there's a possibility that the entire company may get transformed. And if the company happens to be an industry leader, then the transformation could very well affect the entire industry. We are seeing a similar sentiment at Century Plyboard India Limited, the 2,300 crore manufacturer of wood paneling solutions. And to find out how innovation is being nurtured at Century Ply, we have invited the company's executive director, Nikita Bansal, to Conversations with Deepak. Nikita is a student of business economics and mathematics. And at Century, she's particularly responsible for the businesses of Scenic Ply and Century Doors. Besides that, she also heads the digital marketing strategies of the company and spearheads the initiatives in IT, HR, and cost. So I'm thoroughly pleased to welcome Nikita to Conversations with Deepak. Hello, Nikita, how are you?
Hi, Deepak. Thank you for having me here. I'm good. How are you?
Very well, very well. How's the lockdown treating you in Kolkata?
So the lockdown has been really good because it made me reflect on life, but we pretty much resumed work fully in office from June, but we were working from the very next day. So we never went offline. So it has been a good journey for us.
And now I think currently you are sitting inside your office.
Yes, yes.
And I've heard this is a magnificent office that you have designed, or at least led the design and the conceptualization of this iconic building.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Could you tell us a bit about that?
So basically, we have various companies that we have. So it's a 7th floor building, and we have a Star Cement division. We have a LED division. We have a business of container freight systems and Century. Century also has the decorative vertical. It has the panel vertical. So all of us used to be earlier in like 7-8 locations across Calcutta. And in 2012, we pretty much decided that it's time that we come under one headquarter. Due to some land litigations and some delay in construction, it took us a while, but we finally shifted 2 years back into this building, and everyone is in this one place. So, and the environment really makes you feel productive because everyone is around you. You can connect with everyone. We have cafeteria, we have open offices. So the environment is extremely refreshing for us from what we were to what we are now. So that is what we were going for when we were designing the building. And I'm happy that everyone is feeling very good here.
So since it's such a modern building, does it also incorporate a lot of your social distancing requirements?
Yes, very much. We have, if you really think, each person's seat is about 6 feet is given to each person to sit. So the desk size is 6 feet. So already your social distancing happens there. Yeah. We utilize the space well.
And did you use a lot of technology in this new space?
Yes. So in fact, 2 years back, we completely shifted into laptops. So 100% laptop. We are a completely 100% Wi-Fi run building. And we completely connect on VoIP. So that means we don't have phone as such. We are pretty much all connected to each other through internet. And hence, when actually COVID happened, I know a lot of companies were, facing difficulties, but we were on plug and play models from day one because we were using Lifesize, which is a software for VC. So from day one, we were with our laptops and with the software, we could work virtually work from home.
So there was no disruption. So
not at all. Not at all.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. And now we are actually planning to move into Google for better collaboration, because we feel that it's time that our company takes that step. So we decided it over lockdown, and pretty much I hope by the end of this quarter, we would have moved into Google.
So how would that help? What kind of a transformation would that lead to?
See, the thing is, with respect to Google, I feel that a lot of, currently we work on our sheets. Say, for example, if you're working on a Google sheet, you can continuously work together, and the sharing and is very, very good. So that is number one. Number two, I think that Google Meet, etc., is far better. So this life-size model that we had was something that we have free up till the H1, because this was something extended to every license that is there. We had limited licenses before, but we were given unlimited licenses till H1. So we had to take the step that going forward, we want to be connected like this even more. So hence Google would give us that. And I think various other features like backup and, a Google Drive. So all the information, if anyone leaves, etc., the backup is still there. So all those definitely adds on to the whole collaboration bit.
So that means this not only strengthens your security, but also fosters a kind of a collaborative culture of collaboration?
Yes, very much. Very much. Yeah. That's what we were aiming for. So I'm really excited about it.
So that's good for, building a team spirit.
Yeah.
In the entire organization.
Yes.
If we were to talk about the wood panel industry per se,
yeah.
How is the organized panel industry going to be impacted due to this current disruption? Do you see any benefit coming out of it?
I don't foresee any benefit as such, because so if I talk about Q1, the industry, obviously April was a complete washout for everyone. But May and June, the industry was able to overall achieve about 30%. We did better than them, but it's not like factories were closing down. So I don't foresee a benefit in terms of the organized sector. But yes, it is something I feel that this will cause a lot of transformation within the company in terms of relooking at costs, relooking at ways to better sell your product. So we may become more efficient is what I believe will happen. But in terms of gaining more market share or any of that, I don't foresee that happening because of COVID. Because if I say even our sales have not yet reached 100%, and we foresee this happening only by Q3 end. So we are not expecting a complete 100% till at least Q3 end. So yeah.
So you mean to say this crisis, whether it's an economic crisis or a health crisis, nevertheless, it is forcing the industry to become more cost efficient?
Yes, very much, yeah.
So how would that happen? What does the industry or big organizations or even medium and small, how do they become cost efficient? What do they have to do to become cost efficient?
So the thing is, right now, if I talk about how do we become cost effective, we did a complete rejig of how to small things. Like we are at our place, we employed something called the theory of constraints in the last 1.5 years. And we have been able to reduce in our supply chain, we've been able to reduce our inventory by 30% and become better available by 30%. So these small steps help us become more efficient. So I think it's about how you deploy your resources to its best. Say for example, during the lockdown days, we found areas where we were spending a lot, and then we found that we could reduce our spends there. So whether it be our purchase department, whether it be our marketing department, whether it be our IT department, we found areas where we could reduce costs. So I think what happens, such a pandemic really makes you reflect on costs which you may be looking at on a year-to-year basis, but not at such scrutinizing levels. So I feel that is what could help. In terms of production, I don't think that there is much that you can do in terms of production costs going down, because it's a very labor-intensive industry. So the costs are going to be what it is going to be. Raw material and labor is what comprises the major cost there. So I don't foresee the production cost going down, but overheads can definitely go down.
But in order to reduce costs, are organizations required to invest in solutions and technologies just the way you did with Google?
So yes, in fact, in the last 2 years, we have really digitally transformed ourselves. So whether it be, each of our departments have now started using digital portals to make their basic functions much easier. Say, for example, our HR is using a HRMS for like a self-employed portal. Purchase is using a portal where people are coming and bidding so that it's far more competitive and far more transparent. We have a logistic portal so that we can have data to really help us reduce costs. We have, like I said, we've employed like the theory of constraints. So because of that, we've had a model in our supply chain. So it's completely under a software which is helping us tell us which product needs to be produced and which product needs to be refilled. Other than that, we have also shifted into RTGS payments. So we are really hoping that in a year or so, we can move into 100% RTGS payments from our trade partners. So I think digital transformation is really helping us become more efficient, more up to date, if I may say. And not only that, like if you really think of it, during pandemic, nobody was going to the shops. So we were the only company who is now available. We have our own e-shop. And over the last 2-3 months, we've become available in select cities in Flipkart and Amazon as well. And we are hoping that we will be in Pan India by the end of this year. And it's not just one product. We are available in all our products. So I think we are taking we are adding another marketplace, which is it is the time. It may not be that people are buying plywood today, but if we are not present when they want to buy, we will not be there. So I think this type of digital transformation that we are doing is helping us grow. Also, like I would want to mention that we have done a very unique thing. We have actually mapped all our retailer base, Pan India. We have mapped them, and then we have given them a WhatsApp desk, which is just a one-click away to connect with the company on any problem that they have. All they have to do is send us a WhatsApp message, and we solve it within 48 hours. And this is administered till the head office top levels check this desk. So, and we are creating similar desks for customers, contractors, our internal employees, etc. Everything. So I feel digital transformation brings about productivity and efficiency is what I think.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So some of these points that you touched, I would like to come back to them later.
Definitely. Yeah.
So, but before that, I'd like to know if you have a sense of, has there been any change in customer preferences in the midst of this crisis?
So I wouldn't say there's been a change in customer preference, but what we are seeing is that people right now are not, so if there is any change you want within your own home while you're living in it, that is not happening much. If you see even housing societies, etc., are not allowing carpenters to really come in during this pandemic. So we are finding that replacement or renovation etc. is not happening. But new homes that were already in the process of being made, people are in a hurry to finish that project. And so we are right now, all our demand is coming from there. And we expect that there might be a dip before it picks up again. But I'm not seeing a change in customer preference. But yes, I am surprised that we are getting orders online, and it's slow, but it's there. So it's making me feel, and it's coming from small cities in Bihar, like not even cities, they are like towns which are less than 1 lakh population. We are getting orders from there for a product like, so we sell something called Stark, which is PVC board. We had an order from such a small town for a product which is not even widely advertised online. So I think potential is there, but I'm not seeing a change in preference yet.
So you mean to say that customers are more willing to buy online in order to minimize contact or for convenience?
It could be either, honestly, because it's just very slow and it's picking up right now. But I think that it has a potential. Like I would say right now, do you really watch TV? Other than a little bit of news, I am pretty much mostly on my mobile or I'm on the OTT platform.
Yes.
So I feel that people are getting used to this digital world so much. Today's generation, I can talk about my generation, I find it very convenient to buy everything online.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't say that today everyone prefers to buy plywood online, but I foresee that in the next 5 years, we are going to see that shift, because youngsters who are now going to become people who would be purchase decision makers, they would start being the person who wants to search online, would want to buy online. So hence we want to be present there for sure.
Very interesting. So there's also an ongoing sentiment of Atmanirbhar.
Yes.
That means make in India, be self-dependent.
Yes.
Or reduce dependence on imports. So in the wood paneling sector, are there any specific product categories which might benefit from this center?
So we foresee that there might be some benefit in the MDF segment because there is China definitely does far more production than us in India. But it all depends on the duties, etc., that the government really, but nothing has been announced yet. So it's too early to really comment on it. But other than that, I mean, if you really see that most of our products, we produce it here in India. So we are already Atmanirbhar. Yeah.
Okay. So this might impact the ready-made furniture sector also?
Yes, if you see, in fact, if you see, government has already announced that, furniture is something that they are going to really be,
yes,
I think recently,
12 champions.
Yeah. Out of the 12 champions, one of them was furniture. And in that furniture, we are expecting MDF to be what really benefits. Yes. Yeah.
Just a few days back, you announced the use of nanotechnology.
Yes.
And ViroKill. Is that how you
ViroKill. ViroKill. Yeah. Yeah.
So I got a small note on it, but I think you seem quite eager to talk about it more. So I'll let you do that.
So actually, so I would just actually want to go back. So in the panel industry, it's very difficult to innovate in the product. There's not much to innovate. And I take pride to say that Century Ply has always been an innovative brand. So we became the brand we are today because we were the first brand in 1996 to come up with borer-proof and termite-proof plywood. It was what the customers wanted, and hence we came up with it. And overnight, we became the brand we are today. And from then to now, again, we are the first in the industry to come up with something that the customer wanted. So during this pandemic, we realized that WHO has announced that, viruses can stay on surfaces. So people are actually very scared, I know that people were going crazy about, we need to sanitize this surface, we can't touch that, and, all of that. So our R&D department, even though we had Amphan and the coronavirus was there, we worked day and night to really come up with this technology. So we use nanoparticles that kill 99% viruses on all our products. So plywood, laminate, veneer. So I think I'm very, very proud of the R&D department to have done that in such a short time during such a stage where things were looking so difficult. Yeah.
So do you have an IP on this technology?
No, we don't. So we are using a technology which is, so nanoparticles worldwide is used in killing viruses. We've just used that in a different composition, but we've not yet patented it. No.
So, and does this technology challenge the novel coronavirus as well?
So currently the government does not allow you to test on coronavirus, but we have tested on RNA viruses similar structure to coronavirus, and it has been successful. And I am 100% confident that, if it is corona also, when the test comes, we will pass it, because we have actually passed on all the viruses that have come in the past. So hence we have labeled it as 99%. But since the government is not allowing, it is not possible for us to test it against coronavirus.
And the entire product range, all your categories are being offered with this technology?
We are working on offering it on our particle board and MDF. But other than that, it is pretty much there on our veneers, on our laminates, on our plywood. We've not offered it on the door because we didn't want it. It's thicker. It's the penetration is tough of the nanoparticles, etc. So we've avoided it on doors. Yeah.
So would it be right to expect that this technology might become the industry standard going forward?
See, so even so I'll again go back to the past. When we came up with the borer-proof ply, everyone started after that. So in our industry, everyone copies. But I feel we are pretty much one of the only brands which has been consistent with what we say and our products performing on it. So there might be a lot of people coming up and saying they are virus proof, but whether they are really tested and whether they actually perform, I am not so sure. But with Century, that is definitely something that you can be rest assured.
Well, all the best to you with this new technology.
Yes, thank you.
So let's talk a bit about our digital forms of marketing, because that's one of your focus areas.
Yes.
And Century Ply has been trying to forge a connect with its consumers through the digital medium.
Yes.
And you've also appointed a new digital agency a few months back.
Yes.
So what are the objectives of the digital campaigns that you and your creative partners are undertaking? What are the key objectives?
Actually, there is only two objectives. One is that we need to do lead generation. We only will concentrate on lead generation throughout the thing, whether the lead generation is in form of pure leads or whether it is for leading to our e-commerce website which results in direct sales. So that is number one objective. And number two is that we work very heavily on SEOs and rankings, etc. So we want to rank better in the Google. So Google has this ranking that they give to every website on different parameters. So we would want our website to be on a higher than what we are right now.
Okay. So if you are going after leads, that means that every campaign of yours would have some kind of a lead gen mechanism?
Yes, very much. So we have since we just brought the new agency on board in May, so we took the last 2 months to really get everything in place, the hygiene, and get everything rolling. And henceforward, all our every marketing would be a lead generator for us. Whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be on Google, or even Instagram for that matter.
So what are the key personas that you are pursuing to your campaigns?
Sorry, I could not understand that question.
We all have customer types.
Yeah.
For
yeah.
every campaign, you define the customer or define
okay.
the persona
so,
of that.
Yeah, so we are going for like 25 to 50 age brackets. And there are different, so we go with people who have an inkling towards interior designing, who are homemakers, who have a certain budget and above for mobiles that they've bought. There are these qualifiers that are there. So, and certain town types, etc., everything. So we try to put that. So if I talk of television, you would say 30 plus AB, that type of a crowd, but we've just lowered it to 25 plus.
Okay. And what are the various engagements? What are the types of engagements that you are aiming for?
So we will definitely, so what we are looking at is that we want to now make ourselves present in all platforms. So we will use Twitter to be for our online reputation management. It's called ORM. We want to be there so that if anyone has a complaint or a query, we are there to answer. We want to use Facebook and YouTube primarily for lead generation, and we will keep talking and advertising our different products. But YouTube, we are going to severely use for knowledge. So we are going to now create it as a platform where we will put up videos where we can educate our consumers who do not even probably know the difference between a veneer and a laminate, or don't know which type of plywood one should use. So we are going to really use YouTube, whether it be through third party or through our own YouTube channels, where we will try and educate people when they search things like which is the best plywood, what should I look in for a plywood to buy, or if I'm to buy so and so veneer, what is the benefit in it, and things like that. Yeah.
I see. Particularly for the plywood category.
Yes.
What type of positioning are you aiming for? This is actually a generic. It has become a generic product.
Yes.
And but it also happens to be your flagship product category.
So we've always so we have two brands. One is the Century and the other is the Scenic brand. So we position both little differently. We've always positioned Century as the Amitabh Bachchan, or the now I would say the Ranbir Kapoor of the thing. And when I come to Scenic, we have always somehow, I don't know why, it's like the Akshay Kumar of the industry. So, always stable, always fighting, that type of a thing. Because Scenic is a category that we are using to fight with the local brands. So, hence, it is a fighter type of a persona that we are giving. And whereas the positioning of Century is always the trusted, quality, loyal, that type of a persona is what we give Century.
Very interesting. So do you have ambassadors for these brands?
No, right now we are not using. So for our recent ad, we've used Param from the Bengali industry because we had to shoot in Kolkata. But right now we do not have anyone right now. We don't want to really use a face.
Okay. That approach, you're not taking that approach?
No.
As many other brands often do.
Yeah, so it's sometimes we feel that the personality, like the celebrity that you take, overpowers the brand. you know, and a lot of times people remember the celebrity and don't remember the brand name.
Yes, there are classical examples
Yeah, yeah,
discussed in all B schools.
yeah. So I think we've always debated it, but till now we used Nana Particle few years back, but yeah, it's not something that right now it's in our mind.
But the way and the way you explained the personas, that was very interesting.
It's because I feel it's something that people can understand, you know, whenever we talk to other agencies or we are talking to outsiders, it's the easiest way to explain what we want to really, because Bollywood is something that people are so attached to that it's easier to explain.
And also because both these personalities have got some excellent qualities, both different, but
yeah,
really outstanding qualities.
Same with our plywood.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, if with so much of transformation happening or being planned at Century Ply, you definitely need a huge talent base.
Yes.
You need to nurture that talent in order to make your growth sustainable. So, what would it take for an organization in terms of human resources to achieve success today, if we were to look at the general picture?
So, okay, I'd like to divide it into two. So attrition in the lower levels have been a pain point for us for the longest time. And last year, finally, we found a solution that has really worked for us. So our attrition was almost 35% at the lower levels, which is actually where the sale really happens. I mean, the ASMs and the SCs are who really do the sale. But they used to not stay with us for more than 9 months or 1 year. And what we did was we came up with a two-pronged plan. One, we announced a time-bound promotion policy. So given the amount of time you are there and your rating on your PMS, we were giving them automatic promotion. And number two, what we did was we recognized a top talent pool across all our various line of businesses and across all branches, etc., everything. And we said that we would accelerate your journey within this company because now you're part of this top talent pool. So these two has helped us bring down our attrition to 15%.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think we finally cracked it at the lower levels, and we are hoping that such more endeavors that we do would help. I mean, attrition obviously in this period would be definitely low. So this year we would discount, but again, I think our activities would start again from next year to see how further we can bring it down from 15%. But the second part...
By lower level, what is how do you define the lower level?
So I would say below 10 lakh, below 10 lakh. Yeah. Yeah. So that is, and because that is basically our main force, I would say approximately that comprises of maybe 80% of our workforce is at that level. Yeah. So, and other than that, the attrition on the higher levels is very low because we have a very good recognition program and we really have a very good connection. You know, we connect very regularly with our people. So I feel they automatically get recognized and are given the opportunity within the company to do better. So we have not found problems in higher levels that I would say, like say a branch manager up. We don't find much attrition there. So that's how we actually preserve talent within the company.
So if, what kind of a culture are you fostering? I mean, of course, from all the details that you have just shared with me, there's a lot of sharing culture, there's a lot of collaborative culture. But what else is there? A core belief that everyone is able to relate to or to join with you. which
So,
manages to hold on?
yeah, so I would like to say that, our, vision statement is to be Sarvada Sarvottam. That means best always. So, for us, there are two things that the company has always lasted on, has been trust and quality. So if I really try to deep dive trust into a culture, I would say there is we want to inculcate a culture of integrity. So I feel that we never take, even no matter how senior a person is, if we find a issue of integrity, we let the person go the very next day. And we have done this in the past. So this has really set a precedent. And we find that the people who work with us are very loyal, who want to work because they feel that whoever they are working with is working with full integrity. So integrity could be of their passion towards work. Integrity could be towards their truthfulness that they give inside. So I would say integrity is something that we want in our culture. And the second is quality. So when I say quality, I would translate that into a type of accountability that people should have towards what work they've been given and their delivery. So I wouldn't say that culture is easy to really create. I think we keep trying, and I hope that one day we can be the culture that we want to be, because yeah, it's a tough journey to really create a culture throughout in every small department of yours. I feel like right now our branch and maybe a go down or maybe a head office run in little different cultures, because it depends on who is running the
Right.
location. But we try to really, we actually have a value champion program that we run, where we try to really reward people who have shown examples of integrity, who've shown examples of accountability. So we try small steps to really, try and build that culture. But it is going to take time, I feel. But definitely, I feel the culture is very much prevalent in the head office and factory. But branches, I feel it takes longer time to really get that.
You brought up the issue of integrity.
Yes.
Now, often integrity is seen as a function of possibly how competitive you want to be, or how desperate you are for new business, for new acquisition. Because that's where the clash between integrity and achievement happens, especially at the lower level. How do you address that?
I think that we are compensating people at lower levels with the type of with what they bring to the table. So I would say that they are very well compensated. I mean, our even our peon to that level is very well compensated within our company, and they are people who are very loyal to us. So if we actually run a program where we actually award every year on our anniversary of the company on December 4th of a long service award. We've actually reached 30-year award now, and we have so many people who are from the bracket of 5 to 30. And I think that comes from the fact that we have always, so beyond just money, we are there for the company otherwise also. So in the sense that if there is an employee who is under stress, we are there. We have also been there for families. Till now, we're supporting families of people who were employed with us, but they passed away for some reason, medical or whatever be it. We support their families. This is not something we announce and talk about, but I feel this is something that people know internally. That because of the main chairman as well as the managing director both have this very their persona says that we are always there, is why I feel that people want to be attached and be loyal, because yeah, we are there for them. So
And otherwise also it's quite well known that it's culture that trumps over strategy. So
Yeah,
if you have a
yeah.
very deep-rooted and rich culture, it will always help you overcome strategies that are launched by your competition.
Yeah, and moreover, we have a strong audit system as well. We create so for everything we have so say for example, our sales function and our commercial functions run separately. There are different heads who run it. So so they police each other, if I may say so. So I feel that even at lower levels, there's enough checks and balances that we've created in the system that if someone is caught, they know that the price they will pay is far higher than the price they will gain by just a small, yeah.
So in these times when so much of transformation is happening or is being pursued, and competitiveness is also a big element of every business. What skills do you think would be most critical for organizations in the coming times? What new skills would organizations require to develop or to bring in?
Honestly, I feel it's sustenance. I know I think that if we can sustain something that we are doing and we can wholeheartedly do what we want to do, I feel that is what will make us last. We are right now trying to really change the way our people are selling. And if we are able to make that change, I think that if we are able to change it and sustain it, we will grow by multiples. But it's the sustenance of any change that is very tough. So I feel sustenance is the skill that people need to really really persevere over something that they've been given that can help in, yeah.
So in order to sustain or to be, have the skills of sustenance, either you need to have some technical skills or some excellent soft skills.
Yeah.
What do you think is more important? Or of course, both are equally important. But how do you see both these skills being nurtured at Century Ply?
So right now, so two ways. So one is definitely the technical skills. I feel given the type of digital transformation we are doing, I feel that we are really teaching a lot to people who didn't know. So other than our IT and SAP department, the people who weren't very adverse with technology, they are getting introduced to technology in their spheres. So I feel that technically they are getting far more advanced within the company. But what we are trying, and I'm not at liberty to speak much on it, is that we are trying to change how people sell. So I feel if we are able to, for us, our industry is all about selling. We are a sale heavy industry. So for us, if we are able to change how a person sells from the lowest person to the person who heads a division, I feel we will be able to make the impact. And we are spending a lot of energy and a lot of time in finding out what is the correct way, correct method, and what we should be doing there. So I feel whoever joins Century or who is part of Century will be learning that. So, and I think if they are going through this change transformation that we are going through, I think that they would take away a big thing for their future career, because change is something that if you experience it, it helps you in several different journeys in your life.
Absolutely. So now, we'd like to come back to the topic that came up right in the beginning, trade and e-commerce.
Yes.
And go a bit deeper into that. So you said that you have set up your presence, establish your presence in e-commerce, even though the returns are very low at the moment, but going forward, you expect that to become one of your key sources of revenues or an important source of revenue.
Yeah.
For all your product categories across the country. So my question is, doesn't this put you, you know, doesn't this put you in a situation of conflict with your existing channel partners?
Actually, no. So the thing is that we are present online, but we are servicing them through our channel partners. So right now, if we get an order, we take that order to the branch and they then give it to a dealer or a retailer and service it through them. So we are actually adding to their sales rather than conflicting with them.
But how would you decide which channel partner to give that order?
We leave that to the branch. I feel at branch level, they decide, given the locality, given the area, where the freight cost would be the lowest, they choose the channel partner.
But is there anything else that you are doing to integrate your distribution channel, your trade channel, into the e-commerce or the digital way of selling? Or if I were to say, how are you enabling your channel partners digitally?
Okay, so we are in the process of coming up with a dealer app. Actually, we have just, during the lockdown, we were able to launch a SFA app, that is the Salesforce automation, across the company, actually across the decorative as well and the panel business. And we were able to do it while we were in lockdown. So we've actually made it live pan India for us. And the next step to that is the dealer app, where we would be giving dealer access on an app where they will be able to log orders also on the app. We are still working on what are the different features that we would want to bring to them. It could be things from stock management to complaint management to if they need some type of POP, POS at their shop or their contractors. But things are not yet finalized. So I'm hoping that by the time we leave this year, we would have an app for them.
But this Salesforce automation app that you mentioned,
yeah,
this is a customer-facing application?
No, this is for our sales people. So now all our the sales executive as well as the area manager, etc., are on this app. So we track their location, we track what they are doing, they plan their journey. So we are able to really see where our productivity is and where we can do better.
Your distribution channel, your dealers, and
yes,
particularly your dealers, are you expanding your dealer network, or you think you have an optimum network in place?
Okay, so I'll just explain before I go into this question how we really work. So we have 3 product lines. One is the MDF, then there is the MDF and particle board, then there is the decorative line, and then there is the panel business. So the decorative completely runs on distributor model, and they appoint limited distributors across, and they are in the lookout to increase their retailer base. So they are coming up constantly with programs and schemes to increase their retailer base. So when I talk of decorative, there is never a shortage of wanting to introduce retailers. But yes, we open distributors very selectively depending on the area and the geography and the requirement of that particular branch that is there. Whereas the MDF business is more on an OEM model, where even though the end customer are the OEM, so it's a complete different method of selling. We do sell it through dealers, etc., but it's still at the end the customers are OEM. So, but when I come to panel business, again I would divide it Century and Scenic. So what we are doing and what we've been doing since the last 1 year, we are in a process of increasing our channel base. We want to increase to almost 1,000 dealers more in the Scenic category. So we are going into towns with a population of even 1 lakh, and we are trying to open dealers there, because we feel that these towns will not be right now getting demand for Century, but it is definitely something where we can compete against the local brands and pitch our Scenic product. So we are trying to open at least one dealer per town, depending on the population. And if the population is higher, say 4 to 5 lakh type of a population, we are trying to open, say, 2-3 dealers in those towns. So, and the Scenic sells completely not on wholesaling, but it sells on retail completely. So from their counter directly to the customer. So we are really looking out for such people in different smaller towns, especially to join the Century family and help us. And we've opened quite a few last year. And right now there was a slowdown for the last few months, but we are again picking up, and we hope to add another 500-600 by the end of this year.
What about your retailers for the decorative, the Century brand?
For the Century brand, see, the thing is, so Century brand is wholesaled as well as retailed. So it depends. We are hoping that these dealers that we open in 1 lakh towns, etc., we can over time start giving them Century in their bucket. Because the person who is coming to buy Scenic will never buy Century, and a person who's coming to buy Century will never buy Scenic. So we are not, Scenic and Century don't really compete against each other. It's two different price games completely. So we are hoping that we will be able to just use the Scenic dealers to expand our Century. But currently expansion in Century is not something that happens very easily. So it's as per requirement of the branch, location, but it's not something that we've taken up as a big exercise that we want to really open full-fledgedly.
Typically, the laminates and plywood, the panel products have been sold in timber shops, which are open to weather, and there's not much to talk about in terms of customer experience. Whereas, as the name itself suggests, they are decorative products. They convert into high-value interior items. So, are you doing something to transform the customer experience at the retail front?
Yes. So, for the decorative items, last year we opened a arena in Delhi and in Bombay. So for Bombay, we opened a laminate showroom, and in Delhi, we opened a veneer showroom. And we don't plan to open, so these are company-owned showrooms, but we don't plan to open many such showrooms going forward. We want to keep it only for select cities where we feel that the demand is very high, and we find that there are a lot of people who would do a walk-in like this. But what we are doing is we are taking up space with our distributors, and we are putting in money to really make their experience center up to the quality of Century. So that is something that we have been investing in over the last few years. And so I think that's the only thing that we have, after different experiences, come to a conclusion that is what works. Because carpenters take you to the dealer or distributor they are comfortable with. So you need to have your presence there. So we are trying to go down to the dealer network and improve their experience that they offer to the customer.
And so this experience center or enhanced experience, or can we say showroom environment, is not being planned at the dealer or the retailer level, only at the distributor level?
Yeah, it's only being planned at a distributor level because they keep all the stock. So in the retailers don't keep a very large stock for us in decorative. So when you do a experience center, if you don't have the stock, it's very difficult to really sell your range. So hence we have kept it to the distributors.
Well, it's very interesting to know that right from your processes, your communication, to marketing, to retail, to distribution across the board, there is some sort of a transformation going on.
Yeah.
And
I think this building has brought us that positivity that since last 2 years, I feel a different energy amongst all of us, all the directors that we are here, and we are continuously thinking what next to really make that big jump, I think our industry is at a point where we can become the next Asian Paints in the paint industry. So,
wonderful.
Yeah, we are hoping that we are able to do something, to really bring that growth path that is required.
Well, we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
All your
Thank
endeavors
you so
personally as well as at the corporate level.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was really nice talking to you. I hope everyone enjoyed.
Yes, I'm sure, and look forward to more news, more innovations coming from.
And I look forward to you visiting Calcutta sometime. Do definitely contact me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking to you. Have a good day.
You too. Yeah.